This is my latest model, the Rum Chaser patrol boat that was used to enforce Prohibition. This was a build from scratch using 3D software. I used Shaper 3D and I used ZBrush for the figures. The model depicts a Coast Guard boat 155, which was stationed out of Manchester, Massachusetts. It's all 3D designed. All the parts were printed on a resin printer. I like the design of this boat because it was a boat that represented the 1920 boats. It still had that styling. It was a wood boat, and it was before the steel boats. I liked the styling of the wheelhouse or the pilot house. I liked all the little details that I designed for the boat based on photographs. The model was designed using blueprints from the National Archives, and I used a lot of photo references I found online. There's a lot of photos at the Boston Library archives that you can find. So the blueprints helped me with the hull design and the cabin sizes. But when it came to all the things on the deck, the railings, fittings, all the little details were from photographs. So I had to design each piece and figure out how each piece fit. I designed the model to go together fairly easy. If you have a little bit of modeling experience, this model should not be too hard. I created the model so that you could have lighting inside the wheelhouse. As you can see, the wheelhouse is pretty dark, but when you turn on the LED light, you can see more of the details inside. Also, there was a lot of fun details in producing this boat, like the life raft on the top, the searchlight, all the running lights. In the front of the boat, let me turn a little bit, see if we can see some of the details in the front. Of course, you have the flag, Coast Guard flag in the front. You have the lift for the anchors, and then you have two anchors. You have a large anchor, a small anchor. And then you have the windlass. And then you have these air ducts or ventilators, and you have two up front. These are one of the shorter ones. And then you have a medium-sized one that are close to the wheelhouse. You have the deck gun, which is a 1-pounder. And a stand, and it's designed so when you put this on there, you can swing the gun in any direction if you'd like. If you'd like to have the crew, you can purchase those separately. You've got the gunner, and then you have the officer, and then you'll have a sharpshooter or a rifleman, and the helmsman's at the wheel inside the wheelhouse. And on the front, you've got this interesting feature, which is kind of the old style. You've got this little sun visor, and you got the ship's bell right in the front there. And then you've got these grab rails along the front of the wheelhouse. Let me turn it again. The wheelhouse has a life ring, and there's a little box next to the life ring. I believe it holds the rope for it. And if I can do this carefully, you can see inside compass, there's controls, 2 radio cabinets back in the back there. This is cabin 1, which has the air vents on the back, and then you've got a little crow's nest. Lookouts would get up top there so they could see farther out. And then you've got Coast Guard man carrying a rifle heading towards the front of the boat, and you have one coming out of the hatch, and his rifle is on the top of cabin 1. Cabin 1 has probably the smallest part to print was that little axe that goes on there. Quite delicate to print. Box that the axe is on is actually a battery box. The box by the hatch is some kind of storage box. And then interestingly enough, they had these buckets. I guess in the old days for firefighting and for many different reasons, they had to have buckets. Going back to cabin 2, you can see that there's air vents on the back, and there's 2 hatches, one in the front and one in the back. And there's a lifeboat and the davits that held the lifeboat. And the smokestack is actually, that was for the stove and for the cooking for the kitchen. And these boats actually had coal burning stoves and also, I guess, for heat. But they had 2 twin gas engines that ran the boat. And back in the back, they had a large flag on a wooden pole. There's a sailor there that's operating the ropes. In the back corner there, you can see a rack that holds a fire hose and a nozzle. And I'm going to turn the boat around to the port side so you can see what's on that side. So this is the port side of the boat. As you can see the cabin 2 in the back there, you can see the hatches more clearly. And going down here, there's also a fire hose, a nozzle, and a rack. And right next to that is the pump. On this side of the wheelhouse, there's a large box, and I believe that was some kind of heater that was added for the wheelhouse. And there, of course, there's a life ring on this side, and there's grab rails. And this side, I left the door closed. You can see into the pilot house a little bit. In front of the wheelhouse, there's a hatchway there that also gave them access down below. So I put plastic on some of the windows. A lot of these boats ran with the windows open, of course, depending on the weather. I guess it increased the ventilation through the pilot house, kind of following what I saw on reference pictures. So there's windows on the doors and windows on the back part of the wheelhouse and one of the ones in the front of the wheelhouse. Let me give you a view from the front of the boat. You can see the man at the helm and the gunner. Found it amazing that you can actually see some of the grooves in the deck, which I didn't think would come out necessarily on this scale, but it did. The decals I created myself. There's nothing available that I could find, so I did them in Photoshop and printed them on my printer. The stand has brass tubes, and there's a black tube where the wiring for the LED goes through. So on the railings that went around the boat, there was openings, of course, for them to go through, and there was a little chain that went through there. So I used some small-scale anchor chain in order to do the chains. You can see them on the back of the boat, too. It's a top view. So that's the Rum Chaser patrol boat. If you like this model and you have a 3D printer, you can print your own. This model is now available on colts3d.com. The boat is 1/48 scale, 1/4 inch to the foot. It's about 18 inches long. The files come STL, supported and non-supported, and they're scalable. You can find out all the details on colts3d.com. There will be a link in the description. The Rum Chaser crew is also available. There are 7 crew members. There's a deck gunner, an officer, a sharpshooter with a rifle, the helmsman, a sailor walking with a rifle, a sailor coming out of the hatch with a rifle that can be placed on the roof, and there's a sailor handling the ropes on the stern of the boat. Of course, you can arrange these figures in any way you like. The characters also come with a few items. There's a deck gun stand, a ship's wheel, and a rifle that you may want for other projects. Comes with STL files, supported and non-supported. This should be an easy model to assemble. If you look at the parts list, you can kind of understand how this model goes together. But I did a detailed 13-page PDF file with instructions on how the parts go together, how you can paint it, how you can do LED lighting inside the wheelhouse, patterns and decals, all the information you need to complete the model. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Good luck and happy modeling. You'll find a link in the description of where to get the STL files to print your own. These videos become dated, so the information I put on may change over time. Always look in the description to find the latest information. My STL files are for your personal use only. Please, no commercial use or public sharing of the 3D models. See colts3d.com for complete details. There's a great book to read, Patrol Boat $9.99. It's a great read. It really gives you a taste of what it was like and all the crazy things that went on.